I genuinely, at this point, this is my view. I think opposite sex friends bound over time naturally become attracted to each other.
That's what most people say.
And especially the more that you're pursuing together, like in mission or hobbies and interests.
It can happen, but I've also had that not happen.
I don't know. I think sometimes there's like this asymptomatic, like you two genuinely feel like you are brother and sister, and like there is no romantic.
Well, that's the thing. Can I keep going through my steps of how I was able to maintain friends that are men? And then you can challenge me at the end?
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you. You've interrupted me, and I just want to finish my thought. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can we never use that voice again?
The way that I was able to maintain friendships in my singleness with men was having check-ins. If I was ever unclear about, hey, that felt flirty, or hey, that this feels murky to me, like I checked in.
Wait, you would? No way.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I just want to make sure you know, and this is just me creating a story in my mind. I just want to make sure, and I could be totally off base here, but I felt like you were a little flirty. Maybe you weren't.
You would say this?
I just want to make sure. Yeah.
In like a text or a voice memo?
Yeah, voice memo. You got to be clear, because otherwise I'm sitting there being like, wait, that was flirty. Like, I thought we were just friends.
Isn't it kind of awkward to...
It's not. It doesn't have to be. They're like, you know what? No. Or yes, like I did. Like, the worst part is filling in the blanks with your own assumptions. You hate assumptions, right?
I do.
So that's why you have to clarify. No matter if you think it's going to be awkward, you have to have the kind of friendship where you can have that kind of honesty.
So do you think it's okay for girls to initiate that and ask that?
Totally.
Like the clarity, the check-ins?
Oh, girls should. More girls should. So many girls don't, and they end up in a friendationship.
Is that? Do you think girls are more inclined to end up in friendationships?
Because they don't clarify. They're waiting for the man to say,
I love you,
feelings, and ask her out.
And I've been staring at you.
And guys end up in friendationships too. I just think that women end up there because they don't feel like they have any power, and you do. You have power to find clarity.
And do you think maybe girls have a more of a tendency to romanticize and fantasize about relationship, or is that shared?
I think that can be shared, to be honest. Okay, so the third thing is, I always will say this, especially to ladies, that when you meet a guy and you start becoming friends with them, please know that just because they're kind, it doesn't mean they're interested in you. Kindness does not mean romantically interested. Kindness is just them being kind. If they are interested, I take the policy, if they're interested, they should make that clear. And if they keep showing me like kind of flirtatious moves, I'm going to, again, ask the question. So I think that, but I also think that there is a bit of main character energy that happens when you think every guy is into you because they're nice.
Well, you just stole my question.
Well, that's what happens. And I used to be that.
Well, let me ask you, like, if I'm a guy or I'm a girl, should I always be trying to be aware of someone being kind or flirting with me so that I'm like purposely, like, because I guess
flirting
a worse night
and being kind is different,
right? But I guess it's like sometimes people feel like, am I prideful or like arrogant or think I'm like hot if you're being kind to me? I'm like, is she flirting with me? Like if I'm thinking that, am I self-obsessed? Because some people might be like, well, if I go to them and they're like, no, I just being nice, then I feel like I'm just overthinking things, or like I think everyone's into me when they're not.
I think it's more you're probably overthinking things.
Okay.
Then maybe you're self-obsessed, because like, I think for me, when I used to think a lot of guys were into me, it was because I wanted to feel that. I kind of wanted that. Even if I wasn't into them, I wanted guys to like me because I wanted the validation.
Okay.
So I was looking for it, even if I didn't want to be with them.
And maybe secretly hoping for it.
And secretly hoping for it because I wanted validation. It wasn't necessarily main character energy in the sense, it came from insecurity. But as I started to heal that and was like, genuinely, I want just a good quality friendship with the guy, I started like rewiring my thoughts because there are moments where a guy would be kind and I'm like, oh, does he like me? And I'm
Right.
like, okay, no, he's just, you know what, Kate? He's being kind. But if the kindness move into flirtation, he's playful with me. Now he's always like, hey, kind of touching me a little bit and, making like excessive
Going out of
compliments
his
about
way.
me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what is going on?
Yeah.
Versus like just pure kindness, which I think just for guys listening, like, hey, if you are really interested in a girl, don't just lead with kindness because we're saying
I was going to say, like,
girls don't know that you're interested necessarily just out of kindness.
Right. As a byproduct, like, this kind of just shows the need that kindness is not enough to show that you're romantically interested in someone.
You have to flirt and or just say it. And
like, you got to go above and beyond just kindness.
Yes.
Right.
My fourth way, okay, so 1, be on the same page. 2, have check-ins. 3, just because they're kind, don't assume they're interested. 4, boundaries with guys. And this was developed through time.
Gender neutral, I'd say this is.
Oh, yeah, for male friendships for females and vice versa. I, avoided texting late at night. I avoided excessive one-on-one hangouts, especially late at night. And I don't think it's the best to always have one-on-one hangouts with guys. That turns into what you're talking about is like a good friend, like a really good friend. The other thing is if I really needed help through a situation, an emotional situation, I wasn't necessarily going to my guy friend first. I might go to them for some advice, but I would lean on my female close friend first. And I'm not saying I did this perfectly, but this is some parameters that did help me.
Well, I mean, I will be honest. What you just described, all those situations, I really think as I would specifically just talk to the men. If you are texting late at night, if you are using a lot of emojis and very flirty and funny and laughy in your conversation, if you're hanging out one-on-one, period, especially late at night, or even in like a coffee in the morning, you're working out together. Like, you're going to them for emotional support. And as a person in your life that you're seeking wisdom, guidance, and support from, that is dating them. There is no difference in what I just described right there from
romantic.
That and a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship.
Yeah, romantic.
Like, the only thing that's missing is kissing.
You're so beautiful.
And you're not mutually.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And they're thinking that. Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is where we may have to agree to disagree because I've had a lot of friendships with guys and I did hang out with them on occasion one-on-one.
Why?
Because maybe I was visiting that city and like, hey, let's hang out.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily all the time in LA. Usually it was more group settings, but it would be usually if I was visiting somewhere and hey, I had a guy friend there, we're going to hang out.
Okay. Let me ask you, in those situations, were you ever remotely considering or thinking about you two as a couple dating? Like,
sometimes.
Okay, there you go. Like, weren't.
I wasn't always in the healthiest frame of mind.
Well, I mean, when are we ever perfectly in a healthy frame of mind? Like,
I just think I hear what you're saying, and sometimes I did consider it. But then I took but then I always made a choice, and I want to get into more of the red flags of this because we're talking about can guys and girls can be just friends. I want to get into like what are red flags when somebody's dating, when they have an opposite sex friend, But I would just say, like, for me, I was still working through the desire for validation from guys. And so it wasn't until later in my singleness that I really worked on that.
I mean, I'll be honest. And when you hear my theory, it will kind of extend to singleness, engagement, marriage.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's even more about, I think your validation and that insecurity, which thank you so much for sharing, does impact it for sure. My theory is that it's impossible not to spend time together, bond together, have fun together, develop a friendship together over time, or pursue something together and not ultimately be attracted to each other.
In some capacity.
No. And the question is why is that? And I think it's because we are created that way. That's exactly how it should work. That's what we are wired and created and built for.
I do think there's something beautiful with having brotherly and sisterly friendships.
Totally. But
and something that could be very healing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But I think, and this is where we talked about the Tim Keller breaking down the types of love in the Greek. There's philos, and then there's eros. And eros is two people looking at each other and building a love or type of love based off looking at that person and being attracted to what they see. And then he talks about the love of the philos, which is the Philadelphia, the brotherly love.
Yeah.
And that is the picture of two people standing side by side, looking together towards a common goal and building a love between each other as they pursue that common goal. Which I totally think we build that philos love between same sex, like friends, like me with another guy as we pursue a goal, and my football teams, like we have a brotherly love and affection for each other. It's not eros or sexual in any kind of capacity. But I do think specifically when you build that brotherly love with a person of the opposite sex, there is a natural sexual attractive love that can absolutely an overwhelming majority of the time be built out of it.
I think the question is, it can happen, but does it always happen? And again, I like to avoid saying it's always going to happen.
No, yeah, I think always is exhaustive.
Can they be friends? And it's either the answer is yes or no, because no matter what, somebody gets attracted to the other person.